President Trump taking a victory lap tonight, just hours after the House passed his gigantic tax and immigration bill.
We're sort of celebrating like the biggest bill of its kind ever signed, and it's going to make this country into a rocket ship. Biggest tax cut in history, great for security, great on the southern border. Immigration is covered. We covered just about everything.
What Trump failed to mention is that the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office estimates the bill will leave almost 12 million Americans without health insurance. That bill now heading to the president's desk, where he is expected to sign it tomorrow on the 4th of July, Trump's self-imposed deadline. The bill passing with a razor-thin vote. The president could only afford to lose 3 House Republicans. He lost 2, including Kentucky Congressman Thomas Massie, who said this.
Well, looks like the big bill's going to pass, but it wasn't beautiful enough for me to vote for it.
But enough Republicans did vote for it, giving Trump a major legislative win. But Democrats, well, they see it as a loss for millions of Americans. Just listen to House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who spoke on the House floor for a record 8 hours and 45 minutes before the vote.
Our job is to stand up for the poor, the sick, and the afflicted, the least, the lost, and the left behind, everyday Americans. That's what Matthew teaches us. And that's not what's happening in this one big, ugly bill.
Jeffries' marathon speech surpassing Kevin McCarthy's previous record of 8.5 hours used to delay a vote on President Biden's Build Back Better bill in 2021. Jeffries and Democrats see political opportunity in the passage of a bill that, according to polls, is unpopular with Americans.
So I know that there are people concerned with what's happening in America, but understand what our journey teaches us is that after Project 2025 comes Project 2026. And you will have an opportunity to end this national nightmare.
Jeff Zeleny is traveling with the president. He joins me out front live in Des Moines, Iowa. And Jeff, it took Trump a lot to get this bill passed. How big of a win is it in his eyes?
Closer and closer to the
Brianna, it is the biggest win that President Trump has seen, not only in these short, almost 6 months in office, but during his first term as well. He summed that up as he was leaving Washington en route to fly here to Iowa, saying, "I think I have more power now." That, of course, is to be seen. But one thing that is clear, this is his Republican Party. Democrats believe so, too. That's why now the passage of the bill in the House of Representatives really rang the opening bell for the 2026 midterm election. So there is no question this is a major achievement for President Trump. But Democrats also see it as an opportunity, at least politically speaking, for them. So now the race is on to define this bill, to litigate what is inside of this bill. But as for the victory lap, President Trump has been long planning to come here to Iowa to kick off the America 250 celebration. I'm told a celebration he is playing a deep part in, a very big interest in over the next year. It's going to be effectively the Trump show of America's 250th birthday. But Brianna, the irony cannot be really understated here. President Trump began his political rise in Iowa 10 years ago this summer, right here on the very grounds of the Iowa State Fair, where his helicopter arrived and he was giving rides to children. It's when Republicans started to take him seriously. Well, today they absolutely do, of course. But many of those campaign trail promises about extending tax cuts and lowering taxes for others, removing taxes on tip and overtime, he made those pledges and now it will be signed into law. However, it's the Medicaid cuts, it's the social safety net programs that effectively have been will receive a shortfall because of the need to pay for other parts of this bill that will be also a key part of his legacy. But tonight, at least, the president, we're told, is going to be talking about the virtues of this bill. And Brianna, he's scheduled to sign it tomorrow night at the White House in an Independence Day ceremony with a flyover, I'm told. Brianna?
All right, Jeff Zeleny live for us in Iowa. Thank you. Out front now, Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna. He is a member of the House Armed Services and Oversight Committees. Congressman, certainly I know you oppose him, but President Trump is certainly an effective political messenger. What is to say that he can't sell this legislation to the American people, despite what polling is saying about the bill right now?
Brianna, I don't want to get into the bickering or the politics. I'm just saddened by the Medicaid cuts and the cuts to the Affordable Care Act. Let me explain just 3 things that are going to happen. They're no longer the same level of subsidies for the Affordable Care Act. That means people who are getting insurance on the exchanges in the Affordable Care Act, their premiums are going to go up, in my state maybe even double. Second, private insurance premiums are going to go up because hospitals are going to have to charge private insurance more given the Medicaid cuts. And third, a lot of people are going to lose health care and hospitals are going to close. And that's just sad, and we need to fight to reverse it.
So I do want to listen to what some of your colleagues across the aisle said after they passed this bill.
This is a big win for Americans across the country.
We passed actual transformational legislation that will impact every family.
I can tell you that this bill is going to be a great thing for everybody around the country. This is jet fuel for the economy, and all boats are going to rise.
How do you counter that?
Well, by showing Americans what's going to happen. I think instead of being in Washington, we need to show up when a rural hospital closes. We need to show up when a family says their insurance premiums went up. In terms of the tax cuts and this idea that that's going to spark business investment, we know that's not true because they extended the 2017 Trump tax cuts. The Fed did a study about that. That did not increase business investment. In fact, what was found is that the corporations used that for stock buybacks or to pay down debt. So we've basically given tax breaks to the wealthiest. 60% of the breaks go to people earning over $220,000. And it's come at the expense of taking away food assistance, taking away health care. And the people who are most affected when you take away health care and food assistance are often the kids. So it's just sad that we've enacted this policy.
Major cuts to Medicaid, as you mentioned. Trump has denied in the past. Nearly 15 million people in California relying on Medicaid. Cuts to SNAP, as you mentioned, that food assistance. What can California do on the state level to compensate for the cuts?
Well, it's going to be difficult, but I think we need to be willing to raise taxes on the wealthy so that we can support our hospitals, so that we don't have to make cuts to Medi-Cal. But it is challenging for all states, and all states are going to have to make difficult decisions. But it's important, Brianna, for people to understand this doesn't just affect people who are on Medicaid, which are a lot of folks. It's also going to affect private insurance. The biggest way that hospitals get reimbursed is Medicaid. When they get less money from Medicaid, that means they got to bill private insurance more. Well, guess what? Private insurance premiums are going to go up. And this is unfortunately going to become very evident. You can't spin facts. And when people see they voted for Donald Trump to bring down their cost of living, and when they see their health care premiums are going up, I don't think they're going to be happy.
We saw Hakeem Jeffries in a very visible display today on the House floor for several hours. What else will Democrats do to capitalize on the unpopularity of the bill?
I think it's less about politicians speaking, less about me doing interviews like this, and more ordinary Americans telling their stories. You know, we need to show, not tell. We've got to show up where hospitals are being affected. We've got to show up where premiums are going up. We've got to show up and tell the story of families who were using these benefits to survive and what impact it's having on our kids. You know, the biggest investment we can make in America's future is our children. And you have a poverty trap when people lack health care, when they lack food assistance, that ultimately deprives America's kids of the future they need.
Congressman Ro Khanna of California, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Brianna.